Hello and welcome back to the Ascent Cycling Podcast for the review of stage 11 of the 2021 Giro d'Italia between Perugia and Montalcino. And oh my word, what a stage it was. We've hyped that stage since the parkour was announced and it delivered so much. Joe, I believe you agree with me.
Absolute carnage today. What a stage into Montalcino. I mean, it took a while to get going. We saw a slow start. The breakaway went immediately. 11 riders, and they almost had 15 minutes, I think, at one point. And the stage win would be theirs, but also the carnage that took place behind. As soon as we hit the gravel sectors, Pippo Ganna came to the front. And from then on until the end of the stage, it was just action-packed.
It was absolutely unreal, but you've mentioned a breakaway, break of 11 riders. We're not going to go through the entire breakaway. However, it is worth mentioning that the breakaway did win once again on this Giro d'Italia with Mauro Schmidt, the 21-year-old from Quebec, so taking his first ever win on the Giro d'Italia, and I'm pretty sure his first ever professional win ahead of Alessandro Covi and Harm van Hoeken from Lotto Soudal. Probably a bit disappointed on your end to see Covi second. I know he's one of your favorite riders. But an unreal ride from the entire breakaway and from the Swissman today.
Yeah, definitely. It was Covey and Schmid at the end, and from my knowledge, I thought Covey might have taken it in the sprint because he's a punchy guy with a good little kick on him. But no, Schmid, unreal sprint at the end there after that tough stage. He rode brilliantly. I didn't realise he had that type of ride in his locker. To be honest with you, really good ride by Mauro Schmid, and definitely deserved the stage win. You have to say.
Absolutely. I don't think he even knew he had this in his locker. And I was listening to his post-race interview. Very, very humble guy. He wasn't even meant to be on this Giro. He got called up with 2 weeks before the race, and he suffered with, I believe, either an injury or an illness throughout the first week of the Giro. But as he said, he loves the Strade Bianche. He wanted to be in today's breakaway. I think that might have been the best decision of his career yet so far.
Oh, 100%. A great decision for him, clearly. And I mean, a great opportunity for all of the guys in the breakaway. There was no real standout names, maybe bar Harm van Hoeken, who maybe will be disappointed with their place. I saw he was dropped before the final climb started on that final gravel sector. I think if he was there, it probably would have been his stage win because he was, on paper at least, definitely the best climber in that group. So I think he might be a bit disappointed. But yeah, great ride by Schmid, and he took his opportunity very well, you have to say.
Absolutely, but I think Harm van Hoeken might not be the only Belgian today that feels disappointed comes the end of the stage, because we had a battle in the breakaway, but we had another race within the race, obviously for the GC, and with 60k to go on the first sector of the Strade Bianche, Filippo Ganna led for 10 to 15 kilometers at an unreal rate. And when I say unreal, I don't mean it lightly. He was absolutely incredible, and he made everyone explode, including at that point the likes of Buchmann. I believe Vlasov had been dropped. I believe Simon Yates had been dropped, but mainly Dan Martin and Davide Formolo, who would not come back and then lose about 10 minutes on the breakaway, but I believe 6 minutes and 16 seconds on Egan Bernal, and also Remco Evenepoel, who would then proceed to come back. Remco, who's never really looked very confident, if we're being honest, on this stage, always at the back of the group. The positioning of the Belgian, really questionable today. I don't think he was at ease on the terrain today. And he finally lost time on the penultimate sector. And then there was some controversy, we'll say, with João Almeida.
Controversy, maybe an understatement, I think, there, Guillaume. I mean, Remco clearly struggled as soon as he entered that sector, and it wasn't even going uphill. He was just struggling with his bike handling at that stage, I think. He really clearly was visibly nervous on the gravel throughout the day. Maybe he's thinking about the Il Lombardia moment as well in the descents where he's struggling. But yeah, obviously, Remco was dropped. João Almeida was still in the group, 5 minutes down in GC. He's not in the GC anymore. And he continued on and didn't drop back straight away to help out his teammates. So there was drama. There was big drama because eventually Almeida came back and then he seemed to go up the road again. And I'm not exactly sure what happened. We can't be sure yet. We haven't heard the interviews ourselves from those guys just yet. We're just recording this after the stage. But I do believe potentially Remco had told Almeida himself to just go on. And that is why Almeida went back up the roads before the DSs got on the phone and said, come back and help Remco, and come on, keep going, Remco. You can stay in this battle. But I'm not sure. It was a bit of drama at least. And obviously with Joao Almeida leaving the team at the end of the season, only added to the drama, I guess.
Absolutely, and I think also Remco got rid of his earpiece when he got dropped, so I don't think he was really able to communicate with the likes of Joao Almeida, because even towards the end, Joao Almeida just purely dropped Remco on normal rhythm, and Joao Almeida didn't see that Remco was dropped because of the lack of earpiece. But yeah, a very interesting situation. I don't exactly know if Joao Almeida will be allowed to enter the Deccan Quick team bus, sorry, but I'm pretty much certain that most of Belgium is currently hunting the Portuguese rider.
It could be the case. Could be the case. Even though I do believe Joao Almeida may be an innocent party here. I do think that maybe there were some communication issues with the team, and it wasn't just him saying, "I'm not coming back and helping this guy." I think that wasn't the case. We'll see though. I think Almeida's probably a bit better than that from what I know of the guy. Because if we think back to the last year's Giro, there was a fairly similar incident with Joao Almeida in the other shoes, with Fausto Masnada not really helping him out when he was on a great day, and Almeida was struggling a bit in the Maglia Rosa that day. So yeah, I don't think Almeida would have done that. So yeah, I think we can probably put that to bed.
I think so as well. But moving on from Remco Evenepoel, I think it's worth mentioning one rider from Colombia, Egan Bernal. I mean, remember when we had doubts at the beginning of the Giro? That felt like it was like years ago,
Feels a
because
long
he
time
had
ago.
his in. I know he had like Ghana pace in the first Sterato. It's along those lines. I'm not fluent in Italian. I'm sorry. And then Ineos had Moscon, Narvaez, and Dani Martinez always around Bernal. And Bernal took things into his hands. He didn't let the tempo always being led by his team. In the final sector, he decided to take the pace. Buchmann attacked. Very interesting attack by Buchmann, which I didn't really expect to do well today, but very, very happily surprised by the German. And then Bernal did exactly what he did, I believe, on stage 9. And he went again, and he dropped everyone but Buchmann. He's unreal. I don't think anyone right now can touch him.
Right now, he looks untouchable. He looks like a different league to the top guys in the GC for sure. But I will say, an unbelievable team ride by EF Education Nippo today.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable ride. I mean, after the gravel sector, onto the final climbing of the day, they still had, I think, Alberto Bettiol and Ruben Guerrero in the group to help Hugh Carthy. Those guys were on the front, and slowly GC contenders were getting dropped, still with two domestiques in that team. We saw first Vincenzo Nibali. We then saw Giulio Ciccone quickly after, who surprised me. I mean, he's looked great at this Giro. Clearly not quite comfortable with the rhythm at the end there today. Marc Soler, after attacking a few kilometres earlier, he got dropped as well. The classic Movistar tactic right there. But unbelievable ride by EF Nippo, and Carthy, I think, can be happy with his performance today for sure. But coming back to Bernal, I mean, the guy is unbelievable. He followed moves so comfortably, and obviously he attacked up to Bookman so quickly as well at the end of that climb. He just ran out of climbing, which is the only reason that Bookman was able to stay with Bernal, I think, today. And obviously Bernal's kick as well. You can see, compared to Bookman, who really is a more pure climber, I would say, that Bernal really has some serious punch in those legs.
Absolutely. It was unreal. And you've mentioned EF. There was 8 riders in the final group. 3 of them were from EF, and I mean, you have to upload their performances. One rider that got dropped as well that you didn't mention, and particularly surprised me, was Romain Bardet, who looked very good on the first sector. Was a parcours that suited him. He did well on the Strade Bianche in his career, and just exploded completely on the, I believe, penultimate sector. Not even the last one. I think he exploded on the penultimate one, and ended up finishing with Remco Evenepoel. I did not expect that from Romain, if I'm being honest.
No, your pick to win the day, and I didn't do much better either with Davide Formulo, who I think had a mechanical in the first sector, and there was no coming back from that. If that was the case, I'm not certain just yet. And I think Dan Martin as well. He just got drops early on. I thought he would be maybe one who struggles the most on the gravel, and that does seem to be the case. But yeah, Bardet, not his best day for sure on parcours that really he'd have hoped to do well on if he wants to have a real impact on the GC of this Giro. And I mean, now for riders like Bardet, they're a few minutes down now in GC. I think 3 to 4 minutes probably for Bardet. What's his goal now? Does he try and somehow get back into this GC battle? Does he try and cling on for a top 10, or does he drop time now? I'm not sure what their best tactic is.
I think I think you try to go for the top 10 if I'm being honest. Um, I think it's Romain's first Giro. It's also his first Grand Tour with DSM, so he'll want to at least score a result in the top 10 of a GC. He most likely will be able to overtake the likes of Tobias Foster, who looked unreal today. Very good tactic from Jumbo-Visma as well. We'll talk about it, but they've attacked with George Bennett. That was a very smart move in my opinion. Marc Soler, who, as we said, attacked today, but once again, stupid move because he got dropped. Remco, we'll see. We'll see how that stage has affected his mindset in this Giro. And I think Dan Martinez might not be able to hold on in the top 10, knowing that he's there solely as a teammate for Egan Bernal. So yeah, I think there's a possibility that Bardet still ends up in the top 10. But today's stage was a big blow in his Giro.
Yeah, but what I will say about Remco is that he was dropped early. He was dropped on the penultimate gravel set, so I think, like you say, alongside Romain Bardet, but he almost caught Giulio Ciccone, Vincenzo Nibali as well, Marc Soler, those guys who were dropped on the final climb. He almost closed the gap to those guys, and he did limit his losses, I think, quite well after dropping that early, even though he seemed to be really struggling by his facial expressions towards the end of the stage there. But if he can keep his focus in this GC, in this Grand Tour, I think he's still there. He's only 2 minutes down, and I thought the time gaps could have been closer to 5 minutes for Remco at the time he got dropped today. So I think he battled really well after really panicking, I think, at the first moment he was dropped.
I agree with you on that point, and I think you can make a comparison with what happened last year on the Giro, for those who had watched it, on stage, I believe, 19 or 20, where Willeke Kelderman, then wearing the pink jersey, had been dropped by Theo Gegenhardt and Jai Hindley, and kind of lost his head for about 5 to 6 kilometers, mainly in the downhill portion where he was fuming. But then he managed to pull through, compose himself, and do an honest final climb. I think it's exactly what happened to Remco today when he got dropped. The initial reaction was anger, most likely. I don't know if it was at Joao Almeida, at himself, at just the world in general. I don't know. But I think he managed to just get back into a racing mind. And that proves that he's only 2:22 down in the GC. We know he's a very decent time trialist. The time trial sure is in 10 days. Many things can change from that point. But he hasn't dropped as much as he could have when we take a look at how the race is planned for him.
Yeah, for sure. So coming back to the main GC guys, obviously Egan Bernal, he looks unbelievable, but a great day for Emmanuel Buchmann, a great day as well for Alex Vlasov, who was just behind those guys. He finished really strongly. Two riders I don't think we have mentioned yet. Tobias Foss was right there. What a ride by the Norwegian Tobias Foss for Jumbo-Visma today. I recall you mentioning their attack earlier on, but that was caught, and Foss continued to fight on, hold the wheels in the front group on that tough final climb. And Tobias Foss really is putting himself in contention for a really solid GC position here at the Giro, as well as Damiano Caruso, who fires himself onto the podium for Bahrain victorious today with another really great ride. And how well, I know everyone keeps saying it, but how well have Bahrain victorious adapted to Mikel Landa and Matej Mohoric crashing out of the race? They have had a fantastic race so far despite those losses.
Oh, you have to applaud them. You have to applaud their tactics, but also their resilience, because they've entered that Grand Tour with the hopes of winning it with Mikel Landa. All of those hopes have gone after stage 5, and the day after that they win with Gino Meda. The day after that, or like 2 stages after, they lose Matej Mohoric, which is again a huge blow for them because they had such a strong team, but they've lost like 2 of their main riders. And to have Damiano Caruso, who's always been the perfect teammate, he's always been like there when people needed him to be. To have him in 3rd place is an incredible story. I'm not sure he'll stay there, but there's a part of me that really wishes him to get a podium finish on this Giro, for him and for Bahrain, because they deserve it. And regarding Tobias Foss, I think their move with George Bennett was smart. I think Buchmann managed to do what Jumbo-Visma wanted to do, and that was to potentially have Foss somewhat in the lead in case of a huge rhythm on the final sector, where there could have been potentially some incidents or like Foss just dropping onto your pace with Bernal. But Foss looks unreal. We said yesterday in the predictions that Foss is like for me the third best rider of Jumbo-Visma in their lineup, and I'm gonna have to back that statement again. He is looking very, very strong.
He is indeed. And we mentioned Remco, a strong time trialist. We know Tobias Foster, he was third in the opening time trial. He's only 27 seconds, I think, behind Remco Evenepoel in the GC right now. He's in ninth place, up to a top 10 position. So Tobias Foster, if he can fight over the mountains over the next couple of days, week or so as well, then he can really finish strongly at this Giro d'Italia. But as you've mentioned, Guillaume, a lot of racing still to come. But two winners and two guys I think we both said would struggle today who can be really happy with their performance are the two Brits, Hugh Carthy and Simon Yates. Those guys were among the favourites for me to lose time today among the GC contenders. I thought they would struggle a lot, particularly Simon Yates, but he was at the back of the group the entire day, as he usually is, to be honest, and he just stayed there, did really well, and he's still Simon Yates. No one has mentioned Simon Yates. He's now up to 5th place in the GC, 1 minute and 22 behind Egan Bernal. He is having a quiet race, particularly when you compare it to his Giro of 3 years ago, where he was winning attacking stages in the Maglia Rosa before cracking. And let's see if he's going to do exactly the opposite at this Giro and really peak in the third week.
Simon Yates can have an unbelievable third week. I think that's exactly what he's trying to go for, because we know he's good. We saw it on the Tour of the Alps, and right now he's been like not preserving energy, because I don't think there's such thing as preserving energy when you're fighting with Bernal, but he's just staying quiet, not doing anything too much. He's just doing what needs to be done. He's, as I said, 122 down. Whether he'll be able to come back on Bernal, I'm not so sure. We'll see. But Simon Yates is having an incredible race for now, and today's result moves him into the top 5, just 5 seconds behind his counterpart Hugh Carthy, who you've mentioned. I didn't think he'd do particularly well, but him and EF today were so good. I'm really happy for Hugh Carthy.
Yeah, and he's got, like we said before, Bessio and Guerrero to thank massively. Massive rise by those guys. And they probably gave up their chances at the stage today. Either of those guys would have had a great chance at the stage winning the breakaway today, but they gave it up to help Carthy really keep his place in the GC battle.
Absolutely. And last mention regarding EF, we do wish a very good recovery to Jonathan Caicedo, who's had a very, very nasty crash. I don't know if you've seen the images. I sadly have on Twitter, and I'm just hoping that he recovers following the incident.
So looking ahead to tomorrow's stage 12 now of the Giro d'Italia, and it doesn't slow down at all for the GC contenders, because we have the most climbing of a stage so far, 4,500 meters of vertical climbing for the riders. And we have a number of categorized climbs as well, but kicking the day off, it's really hilly terrain for the first 75k or so. We then have the Monte Morello, which is the first climb, some steep pitches in there up to around 16%. Then we have 2 more climbs later on, second category climbs. They're both over 15 kilometers. Firstly, the Passo della Consumer, 17 kilometers, average of 5.7%. That is going to be, we'll see a fairly reduced group by the top of that climb, I'm pretty sure. And that leads straight into the Passa De La Calla, which is 15 kilometers in length again. And by this point, the race is going to be decimated, but still we have around 50 kilometers of racing remaining. A long descent follows, though, into the Passo De La Carneau, which is probably the steepest climb of the day. At least it features the steepest pitches, up to over 10% yet again. So that is going to be really where the stage is at its finish, because we have a little false flat section before a descent and then a few kilometers into the finish of false flat. So a massive day, because it's also 212 kilometers, one of the longest road stages of this year's Giro d'Italia. So it's quite a brutal profile to have following this even more brutal day as well into Montalcino.
Absolutely. And I think because some of the riders are going to want to recover from stage 11, I believe we're going to see a breakaway winning on stage 12 between Siena and Bagno di Romagna. It's a profile that would suit a breakaway, for being honest. And I was looking at the riders that lost some time today. The top 3, well, the bottom 3, I guess we'll say, were Dylan Groenewegen, Simone Consoni, but out of the gruppetto in last position was Gino Meda. And Gino Meda is still in contention for the Maglia Azzurra. So I believe we're going to see the rider from Bahrain in the breakaway, strong of a stage win already on this Giro. So he knows he's got decent legs. I think he'll be there with the likes of potentially Simon Carr and Gros Schartner, who also lost quite a heap of time today. However, we'll see how that goes, knowing that they've got their GC leaders on the side. And then we'll probably see some riders from Androni, some riders from Bordiani, riders from Eolo Cometa. And in my opinion, we'll see a good rider from Trek, potentially Mollema, potentially Gianluca Brambilla, but I do believe we will see the Trek outfit at the front following today's emoluments.
Yeah, we could do. I think I'm definitely with you. It's going to be a breakaway there. I'm pretty sure of that. We'll have probably a lot of riders wanting to get into that breakaway. Probably Ineos taking it easy again for the first section of the stage. So I think it'd be a breakaway win. Like I say, very noteworthy that Gino Mader literally the last finisher today behind even Dylan Groenewegen. So I think we'll see a Gino Mader attack tomorrow. That's one thing I can probably say for certain.
Moving on to our predictions. I'm not going to lie. This is probably the toughest stage I have had to predict since the start of this Giro. I am unable to get around a single name. So we're just going to have, for now, we're going to drop some names and basically talk a bit about them. But if I was to give the 5 riders I've currently written, I've got Nicolaide, De Marchi, Diego Ulissi. I've got either Fabio or Groschartner from Bora. And my 5th pick, who's a bit of a wild card, I know he's rapid. And I know he can go over the climb quite well. But on this Giro, he's been absolutely shocking. It's Andrea Vendrame.
Andrea Vendrame. Oh, I didn't expect that one. That's an interesting one. I think it's so difficult, like you say. There's so many names. I've written down a few more than you, so I'm just gonna fire all these names at you. So I'm gonna go Koen Bouwman, Aina Rubio, Jefferson Cepeda, if he's not in the Gruppetto yet again. Bauke Mollema. I've got Fabio and Groschartner like you. I've got Geoffrey Bouchard from AG2R yet again. Simon Carr to go alongside Ruben Guerrero. But the thing is with Guerrero, he probably worked a little too hard here to Montalcino, so perhaps not him. Gino Mader, Nicola Ede, Lorenzo Fortunato for Yolo Cometa, and Michael Stora for Team DSM. They're my names I've got currently from potential breakaway prospects. But it's by far the most difficult that I've tried to predict so far at this Giro, I think.
It is, and there's one rider I would have loved to put in this list. I'm just unsure if he'll be allowed to go. It would be someone like Pello Bilbao. He's sitting 7 minutes down in the GC. And if we're taking a look at the profile, it kind of suits him because there's quite a few downhills, and the last one is somewhat steep. And we know he loves like steep descents. But I feel like if you're Bahrain, if you've got Major, you can't have Bilbao in the break because Caruso is going to need some support. I like Rafael Valls, but it's not exactly the best teammate you can get when it comes to a mountain stage. So I think it'll be either between Meda and Bilbao. And if we've got Geoffrey Bouchard in the lead, I know he said he doesn't give a shit about the mountain jersey, but I still believe that if he can get it, he might as well fight for it. So Bouchard is a good shout. Then Aina Rubio, nearly wrote him. I actually thought about writing him, but forgot. Cepeda, my Velo Games would love it. However, he's been absolutely horrendous in the start of this Giro. EF, Carr, TJ Van Garderen, why not? Maybe see someone from Lotto Soudal. All right, before we give our podiums, I just want to remind you that I'm currently leading in the prediction game ahead of against Joe. I've got 2 wins, he's got 1. I somehow expect tomorrow not to change those classifications because if we've managed to pull the podium or just to win, then it's unreal. But your boy is going to back Diego Ulissi to win tomorrow in Bagno di Romagna ahead of Gino Mader, and in 3rd place is going to be Dario Cataldo. Can't even say with a straight face.
He loves the breakaway at least, so you've got that going for you.
He does, yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, Ulysses not a name I think instantly strikes out at me. I feel like these climbs could be a little too long for Ulysses. I'm not sure, but if he's there in the finish, he's got a good kick on him. So for my prediction, I'm going to go. There's 2 names I can't pick between. I've got Michael Stora and Koen Bouwman. I just cannot decide which one I'm going to go for, and I think I will go for Michael Stora for Team DSM to win stage 12 ahead of Koen Bouwman. I'll go for 2nd place, and 3rd I'll go for Simon Carr of EF because I think he looked fairly good the other day. I think stage 8 or 9 to Campo Felice. I think stage 9. He looked fairly good there in the breakaway. So I'll go for Carr 3rd place, but Michael Stora will be my man for Team DSM. But again, I've got no idea what's going to happen on this stage.
Honestly, if we have one rider on the podium, I think we can classify that as a win.
Most definitely. And I'll certainly be playing back that clip of you saying that the scores won't be changing as well if Michael Storer somehow does win this race.
A clip that you can see on our Twitter. That will be in the description if you're watching on YouTube or in the links on the podcast. But I believe that this is where we're going to wrap up this podcast.
Like Guillaume said, if you're not following us over on Twitter, do to keep updated with all things Ascent Cycling podcast. But if you enjoyed today, make sure you hit like, drop a sub on the channel if you're new. If you're listening on a podcast player, hit follow. Good reviews really help us there too as well. Guillaume, do you have any final words ahead of this very confusing stage 12 tomorrow?
Giacomo Nizzolo to finish last.
Giacomo Nizzolo to finish last ahead of his first win of the Giro d'Italia. Let's see.
Absolutely.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.